Hey everyone, this is Alexander with TacoStreetLocating.com, and I help people look for apartments to rent in Austin. So if you're looking to rent an apartment in Austin, Texas, specifically downtown, then I made this guide for you. This is my 2026 guide to all of the apartments in and around the core of downtown Austin. So I'm going to review every single apartment complex in downtown Austin, what I like about them, what I don't like about them. And by the end of this video, you're going to get a very comprehensive understanding of the downtown Austin apartment market. So if you find this helpful and you're looking for an apartment in Austin, please reach out to me at tacostreetlocating.com and I will personally be your guide to help find an apartment in downtown Austin. I've been doing this for 8 years. I know all these buildings extremely well. I've helped over 750 people by this point. So that's my pitch. So let's just get into the search. So I'm going to start in the part of downtown Austin that most people are looking at, and that's going to be this Seaholm district right along the river, where you have like the Whole Foods headquarters, Trader Joe's, and a lot of different apartment complexes. So here I'm going to go one by one through all of the buildings, and I'll start here with Gables Park Plaza. There's two buildings here: Gables Park Tower, Gables Park Plaza. Gables Park Plaza is the mid-rise version of Gables Park Tower. These buildings are going to naturally pair really well together because it's effectively the same location, same management company, same everything. And right now, these two buildings kind of fit in the older modern category, where Park Tower is going to be like more nicer, high-end luxury building, and Park Plaza is going to be the more like affordable, one step down from Park Tower. The main problem with this location is right along here is where the freight train that goes through downtown Austin comes by, and it's really, really loud and screeching, pretty awful. And it happens every single day, multiple times a day at random hours. And it's not good. That being said, different units within the buildings are going to have different levels of exposure to the train noise. For example, in Park Plaza, units that are in the interior courtyard are going to be quieter, whereas units facing the tracks or facing different parts of the building are going to be a little bit louder. So different people with different levels of noise tolerance are going to experience this differently. Some people don't care. Some people care a lot. And if you are really sensitive to noise, especially like loud freight train noise, then these are going to be a problem. So you can see here, Park Plaza has issues with reviews. 3.4 stars is not generally anything that's going to be under like 3.9 or even like less than 4 is not good, especially for downtown. Because in downtown you're paying top market prices, and you should be getting top quality service for what you're paying in downtown. And 3.4 stars is for me a red flag. Whereas Park Tower, 4.6 stars. I don't know why it's such a big difference between the two buildings, because it's the same management company, but whatever. Park Plaza does have pretty nice amenities, a gym overlooking the water, a nice little rooftop pool area. Like, it is a really nice building. It does feel kind of dated just compared to everything else that's on the market. Park Tower does have some really nice units that face the water. So this is one of those options where you do have the potential of getting something with this location is really good overall, because you have Trader Joe's right here, you have the Whole Foods headquarters right here, and there's just a lot of life happening in this area. So it's very functional. And it's right along Lady Bird Lake and the pedestrian bridge. So it is a fantastic location if you really love running and biking and being like in an urban core. So the reviews on these Park Plaza may be worth dealing with if you don't mind this kind of location. And Park Tower could be a good one if you don't mind spending a little bit more money and want this location and don't mind the noise. I think that's good enough for those buildings. So going nearby in the same area, we have the Bowie. And the Bowie, what used to be one of my favorite high rises in downtown. It's very stylish, very interesting. Big rooftop pool, a nice gym on top of the world with a great view. I also know that Bowie has been having a lot of problems with management. I even had someone on my reach out to me on my website letting me know about a bunch of problems with tenants that they've been having. And I don't know the specifics of what's going on at the Bowie, but I haven't had any one of my clients lease here in a really long time. Because if you're going to be spending this kind of money for a downtown high rise, there's a lot of other options now where you have really high level management that has their shit together. And Bowie could work if you can get one of their really beautiful, like floor to ceiling window units facing west, hill country, or something facing river. Could be really good and maybe worth overcoming whatever issues the building may have. Their rooftop pool is definitely going to be a social pool. So if you like having friends over, meeting a bunch of people, then that could make this building compelling. For the time being, it's just not something I'm taking a lot of my clients to, just given how strong the competition is in downtown. So let's move on from the Bowie to its best nearby competitor. The Monarch by Windsor is one of the older high rises in downtown from, I think, 2007, 2008. I think they were supposed to be condos, but they got converted to apartments kind of like last minute, I think. They have really big floor plans, like 800 plus square feet, one bedrooms, like 1,300 square feet, two bedrooms, big balconies, and some of them do have really good views. So in those cases, if you want a lot of square feet and don't mind an older high rise, this could be interesting. Overall, the amenities aren't very good because they're all on the ground floor pool, ground floor gym, and it just feels dated because it is compared to everything else that's on the market now. I haven't had anyone lease here in a long time because there's so many great options on the market right now. So this is gonna be your option if you really want space and size for a floor plan, an apartment complex. So moving on to the L West Avenue. This is right in the heart of, we'll call it the Trader Joe's district part of Seaholm. And they've actually done some really nice upgrades, at least exterior, where it has this nice kind of classy, like European style, like almost like Italian style exterior. So they've done a lot of upgrades, at least on the outside of the building. Overall, this building is kind of like your best budget option to be in the core of downtown, where you'll pay like probably close to 2,000 for a one bedroom, but you get hyper walkability, core of downtown, and this will be a dated option. Like it's older, feels older. The pool isn't very good. The gym, I don't know if they even have a gym. They do, it's really small. You can get good, like bang for your buck in downtown at the L West Avenue. Similar story at the 404 Rio Grande. Older building, big floor plans, feels dated. I don't have a lot of people move here, but the reviews are good. The walkability is great. And there's not much to say about this. It's kind of like the same thing as the Al West Avenue. So if you like the Al West, you'll probably want to see this one. I don't have a ton of people move here. Then let's get to the North Shore. It used to be one of the like top level S tier premier buildings in downtown. Now it's kind of in that fairly modern but not super modern category. And very beautiful building, some great views overlooking hill country, some great views facing south. One of the main problems with the North Shore is that it is flanked by a lot of other buildings, like the Google building on one side, and I think the other Google building on the other side. So a lot of the units are going to have just views of another building. So overall, it's a very professionally managed building. The reviews are good, 4.2 stars. Um, I haven't had a ton of people lease here in the in the last like year or two because of the competition. But it is a really good one if you're in that like upper mid tier of downtown complexes. This is going to be on your radar. In terms of aesthetics, it's kind of this high end corporate hotel type aesthetic, and it's kind of a good, kind of not a good thing. More preferences. Like it doesn't feel like you're in Austin. It could be anywhere in the country and you wouldn't know where you are. But it's still very nice overall. Great amenities, great pool. If you're in the upper high to high end category for your downtown budget, the North Shore should be on your radar. Next to it, you have the Amley on Second. And both of these Amleys, they pair well together. So I'll just talk about both of them together. Amley buildings are fit in the lower high end category where they're just not going to be your super swanky downtown high rises, but Amley does a really good job at positioning them for value, where you're not going to get really the best of anything in any category. You will get that solid, like upper, middle, or lower high end quality with a management company that usually has their stuff together. I've had a lot of people move into both Amley on Second and Amley Downtown. Amley Downtown is one of my favorites because you get a ton of space for your apartments. They have like 800, 900, 1,000 foot one bedrooms, giant two bedrooms, a ton of walkability in this Second Street district with a lot of restaurants and bars and shops. A few blocks removed away from the Seahome district, but there's a lot happening in the Second Street district right here. Amley on Second is going to be the high-rise version of this, and they have some great views facing the river. So while this doesn't really compete in the luxury, like super luxury category, they have done a lot of renovations on the units, which do look very good. And if you can get something facing the river here, then it could be a great option if it is priced significantly below than some of these more modern high-end options. Amley Downtown is a great pick if you want a ton of space and don't mind. Well, it has this like loft urban industrial feel to it. So if you want something that kind of like concrete floors, big ceilings, this more like lofty feel, then Amley Downtown is a great option. So that wraps up those Amley buildings. The Ashton, I just had one of my first clients lease here after being in this business for a long time. The Ashton is an older quality. It's an older mid-rise. It just feels older, feels dated. But they do have very large floor plans, 900 plus square feet, one bedrooms, and like 13 to 1700 square feet bedrooms, which is massive for high rise. And they do have a lot of great views for units that face south. So if you don't mind something that feels dated, it's not going to be one of these like social party buildings at all. So if you want like a quieter experience for a downtown high rise, you want a lot of space and some potentially great views of the water, then the Ashton could work out. But if you do want something that like looks sexier, is a lot more social, then the Ashton is probably not going to work out. Then nearby, we have the 415 Colorado is a brand new building, so I'll just give it a little purple. It's one of the newest buildings in town that just opened up. As of recording this, most of the units are still vacant, and it's a super nice building in a more kind of like corporate feeling part of Austin. A lot of office buildings nearby. The street here is pretty busy. And the 4 and 5 pairs really well with the other brand new complex, the ATX Tower, that we'll get to. So the 4 and 5 is still in the process of opening up. So That's a lot of these brand new buildings, you'll see them have perfect reviews because they want to get a ton of reviews once they open up. And it's going to be hard to determine how great or how good or how not good the management team is until they've been open for a year or two. But for the time being, like, it has been a really nice building. They've got really nice units. They have this like high end old world European style, like high luxury units that do look really nice. A lot of units with like desk space for a home office, a huge amenity deck, ton of gym space. I will say that compared to some of the other like hyper modern, super luxury buildings, it does have a little bit of like a corporate apartment complex compared to other buildings that do feel like more like local Austin high aesthetic buildings. So in terms of aesthetics, that's where I would like shave a point off of the 415. But it is a super nice brand new building. They're going to have Swedish Hill, a really fantastic bakery and breakfast lunch deli spot on the ground floor, which is going to be great. I did have someone just lease a unit here recently. My first guy there, he saw everything in downtown and chose here. So this one is going to be a strong one for a long time. Right now, the competition is so high that it stands out, but it's not. It's just under like the super top tier. And we'll get to some of those. But yeah, for the kind of high budget, high luxury, this is absolutely going to be a strong pick for the long term. So Gables Republic Square is third Gables building. It's a really nice kind of like our course building because on the outside it has this like older brick aesthetic, and it's one of these hotel apartment hybrid buildings that gives you the benefit of a lot of the on-site hotel amenities like the restaurants and bars. The pool area is really aesthetic, really nice. There's a pool area that's for both residents and hotel guests, and then there's a rooftop pool that's fantastic. And the aesthetics inside are really, really good because that's one thing you get when you get this hotel apartment complex hybrid, where the apartment residents get the benefits of like a boutique luxury hotel experience. That being said, this building is flanked by other buildings like the Hanover Republic Square right here, which we'll get to next. So the units north facing at Republic Square are going to be facing the Hanover Republic Square. So you probably won't want to face this other complex if you're going to be spending downtown type money. So then getting to the Hanover Republic Square, and it's going to be worth talking about the Hanover Republic Square with the Hanover Brazos because they are effectively the same exact building in slightly different locations. So the Hanover buildings are, I would call them like A plus category. And the top category that I'll use is like S tier, S category for like Supreme. Just to make that categorization simple. So Hanover is ultra high end, super nice. Both of these buildings have great amenities, rooftop, co-working spaces, and pool, and big movie theater. My issue with the Hanover buildings is both of them, well, exactly the same building, and there really isn't much like thought into kind of localizing the aesthetic. The Hanover buildings could be in any like downtown in the country and you wouldn't really know where you are. So it's ultra high end, but kind of lacks the appeal of like a local aesthetic, where it's kind of like really high end corporate rather than high end local. So that's my only real issue with the Hanover buildings. And one thing that I don't like what the Hanover buildings do is they often offer 4 to 8 weeks free as a leasing special. But they already factor in those prices on the website, which makes it annoying to see what seems like good pricing and good specials, only to find out that the specials are already incorporated. So that's one like annoying thing that Hanover does. But overall, both have fantastic reviews. Both of the Public Square and the Brazos are really well managed buildings. They're great. But a lot of people lease at both, and they've always been very happy. So yeah, those two are going to be solid in the like upper luxury budgets. Then getting into this part of downtown, this is going to be more of a corporate hotel, less a residential part of downtown. So that's kind of my main issue with this part of downtown, is that it doesn't really offer that much in terms of a residential neighborhood experience. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of this, because you're mostly just going to be surrounded by hotels, office buildings, and right now, this entire block right here, the convention center, is just a construction site for the next 4 years as they are rebuilding this convention center. So a lot of these east-facing views from like the Hanover and here the Whitley are just going to be facing a giant construction site for the next few years, and that's not going to be fun. So we'll get into the Whitley here. I'm not a huge fan of the Whitley. It's another one of these kind of corporate feeling apartment complexes that just feels like dated and uninteresting, at least aesthetically. But I do have to give credit. They do have really great reviews. So it seems like the management is doing a great job with what they have. I don't have many people that lease here because at this price level, you just tend to get something that's more interesting and aesthetic at a different building. And again, you'll want to avoid the ones facing east because they're just going to be viewing a giant construction project for the next few years. So I don't have a lot of people lease here at the Whitley, but this could work out if you want something that's going to be probably more affordable for a high-rise experience in downtown and don't mind that this really isn't a residential area. And nearby, you have the Sienna at the Thompson, which is another one of these hotel apartment hybrid buildings, for better and for worse. This part of downtown is going to be a different experience because you have 36 right here, which is kind of the Achilles heel with the Sienna, as the building itself is really nice, although like their interiors are pretty dark for some reason. I don't see why they made the interior hallways so dark. This is just, for me, a little bit too close to Dirty Six, so you just do have kind of like some sketchy energy happening like nearby here, which kind of which is a little bit off-putting for a lot of my clients. That being said, they do have a lot of great units with great downtown views. They have some great large floor plans here, like large one-bedroom floor plans facing south for a great downtown view. And they do have a lot of units with great floor-to-ceiling windows. So it's not a building that really stands out anymore compared to other buildings, because this is still going to be more of a commercial than a residential area. So right now it's kind of it's in the mix, but nothing about it is really standing out anymore. So then getting back towards the west part of Six, which is going to have a ton of bars and restaurants and clubs. It's a very socially active area. And this is another one of the hyper new buildings that's given a nice purple here. And for some reason, the leasing team here really loves telling people that they are built by New York developers and New York this and New York that. And it's kind of funny because there's almost more of a negative to that, because a lot of this is a really super nice building, and this is going to pair really well with the 415 Colorado because they both opened up around the same time. They're both super nice, and they're just going to naturally pair well. The thing with the ATX tower, it's super tall. You can get some really amazing high level floor plans here, which could be the winning factor. Uh, the main issue I have so far is, well, one is the aesthetics, where compared to the other like super brand new buildings, I think the aesthetics at the ATX tower could have been a lot better. There's something a little bit bland corporate about the aesthetics inside of here. It's not true for every part of the building. Like the amenities are super nice and do feel better, but I think they could have done a better job aesthetically here. And the main issue with the New Yorkiness of some of these floor plans is a lot of their one bedrooms have these weird galley kitchens where they're like tucked onto the side and like not really incorporated into the flow of the overall apartment. And that's not all of the one bedrooms, but it is a few that I've seen. And no one that I've seen likes them. I don't like them because I think they're built by New York City developers who assume that no one cooks at home, so the kitchens aren't a big deal. And they kind of just copy pasted that mentality for some of these floor plans, which I'm not a fan of. That being said, if you don't care about kitchens, you don't care about cooking, and you do just eat out all the time, then those floor plans could be just fine. Their amenities are really good. Huge pool, a huge like gym and a pool amenity deck. I will say of the super modern, super luxury category that this is positioning itself in, it doesn't really win in that category. So what does win in that category is going to be the 6G. The 6G is, I would say, the number one building in Austin. Maybe it has some competition at the top, but of the say, well, let's call it three buildings competing for Austin's number one apartment complex. This is probably the number one in terms of everything. For context, the rooftop gym at the nearby Hanover Republic Square is around like the 30-ish something floor. And that's where the amenities, that's where the units begin at the 6G. So every single apartment at 6G is going to be super tall, is going to be top of the world. So they start around the 34th floor and go up until I think the 55th-ish floor. It's a super massive, tall building, and every unit is going to have giant, expansive, top of the world views, especially the ones facing west, giving you hill country views, but the ones facing south give you completely like curvature of the earth type views of South Austin. And everything about the 6G is top class, including pricing. That's kind of like the only con against the 6G is this is a ridiculously expensive building, but it should be because it is the best. And their pool is amazing. Their gym is amazing. They have a sauna, cold plunge, amenity deck. They have one of those golf simulators. They have absolutely everything that you could possibly want. Concierge service, everything you want in your ultra premium high end category. So if you're on the top of the world budget for downtown Austin, this is going to be one of the ones you're going to be touring, and it's going to be, if not then one of the top options for you. So I'm a huge fan of this one, and the management team is really good. They've been open for enough time where their rating system, like 4.7 stars, is really good. And yeah, this is complete S tier, super high quality for Austin. So then coming back down to earth a little bit, come to the 7 apartments. I haven't had anyone leaks here in a while. And right now, it's positioning itself as like a budget high rise. And its main issue is its location, which is above like Ranch 16, Buford's, and just a lot of nightlife in this cluster here. And just that proximity on the weekends, unless like you really like to be in that area, that's gonna be the main downfall of this. The reviews could be a lot better, but their pricing right now is very, very strong. So if you want to be close to bars and restaurants and you do want a high rise experience, but you want like a budget high rise experience, then the 7 would be a really solid option. And kind of poking over here a little bit north, you just have this one kind of like dark horse building, the Shoal. And the Shoal doesn't really overall fit in the downtown scene, but strictly speaking, it is in downtown. It's just in a more kind of like low key, quiet part of downtown, closer to campus. And the Shoal is one of these buildings where most of these are micro units. So they're really small units. And if you want something that's really small and in downtown, and you don't mind that it's not like in the core of things, then this could be interesting. But I don't have a lot of people lease here. So then going west of downtown, you have this cluster of buildings along West 5th. And it's kind of just worth explaining all of them together. So, because it's kind of all the same living experience. And it's going to, you're choosing these apartments, I think is going to more depend on how you feel about this area of like West Downtown, West 5th. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it because West 5th is just a very busy street and you're just dealing with being on a busy street the whole time. And to get anywhere, do anything, you're dealing with being on a very busy street with a lot of traffic. That being said, you do have a good cluster of restaurants and places like Swedish Hill, Lynn's Dim Sum, Bar Peached. My favorite gallery, art gallery, is around here, the West Chelsea Contemporary, that I really love. It's a great art gallery that has, it's just worth getting on their email list just to see what events they have going on. Um, but overall, I'm not a huge fan of this area as a place to live. It's my personal preference. For the quality of building and price, I think East Austin offers a much better living experience than this area does. That being said, you've got the Ambly 300, which is, of all of the Ambly buildings in downtown, this is the least pretty of all of them. And it's just not a very aesthetic building. It's pretty ugly, in my opinion. They do have some good floor plans, some good pricing. But another problem you're going to have at all of these buildings is the train that goes through downtown, like right along here, is going to come through like West 3rd. So all of these are going to be exposed to train noise, which is not ideal. So you're kind of being flanked by train noise and traffic on both sides. So again, not a super huge fan of it. Then you have the Clark. Clark is the nicest of these four. This one feels the most like an interior downtown building in terms of quality, but it's also priced like a downtown building. And most people that want to pay the price that would take to move into the Clark would rather just be inside of downtown than on the edge of downtown. So I don't have a lot of people move to any of these buildings. You have the Pressler and the Fifth Street Commons, which are pretty much the same building, slightly different locations. Fifth Street Commons is just a little bit farther. These are going to be more of your budget mid-rise, kind of like high mid-rise quality feel. Nothing's like really wrong with the buildings. Your prices are going to be good. Location's still going to be walkable. So overall, we have Ambly 300, budget, ugly, Clark, high-end, pretty, Hustler, and Fifth Street, middle of the road for all of them. So that wraps up west part of downtown. So probably the second most popular area in downtown is going to be here on Rainy Street. And Rainy Street it used to be more of a double-edged sword because it used to be much more of like a party going out district. But in the last year or two, it's becoming like a fundamentally, it's almost reverting to what Rainy used to be, which is a residential district. And what's been happening in Rainy over the last 10 years is a really like emblematic thing about what's been happening in Austin overall is tons of growth, tons of development, tons of construction and evolution, and probably nowhere shows that more than here on Rainy Street. So a lot of a short history on Rainy. Before Rainy was mostly residential houses, people used to live. Then a lot of those houses got converted into bars, little clubs, and restaurants, and then it became more of a going out party scene for mostly locals, and then became more of a tourist area. And then the next evolution, a lot of these homes have been torn down and converted into like high-rise condos and apartment complexes. So now it's kind of again becoming more residential than social. But right now, like early 2026, it's still a very social area with a lot of bars and a lot of activity going on. But it's more of a level where it's kind of like a tolerable of like social life compared to residential life. So that being said, like Rainy is kind of becoming more residential. So right here you have the water line, which isn't open yet. I don't know why they even have reviews yet, but this is going to be the biggest building in, I think, Texas at like 80 something stories. So this was the massive construction project that was happening on Rainy, but they've topped off, and pretty much all the construction is inside of the building rather than outside. So this is going to be not as loud of a construction site because it's more internal construction. But once this opens up, it's going to be the number one building in Austin, crown jewel of the city, if you will. Again, here you have the convention center. That's another 4 years of construction. So that's going to be not ideal for living downtown here. Because when you're on Rainy and you want to get to downtown, a lot of times you have to go through kind of like this mega construction area, and which cuts off Rainy from like the core of Austin. But what you do have with Rainy is the Lady Bird Lake hike and bike trail, where you can access this trail from like the bottom side and just walk over through what is a really nice trail to get into downtown or just to go for a walk or run. So my best friends live on Rainy, and they love that they can just leave their apartments and go for like a really nice run or walk here on the trail. So that's one of the lifestyle benefits of being on Rainy, is that like running, walking, biking access you have right here. So then getting back to the buildings, Quincy is, we'll call it in like the mid high level, high rise quality, where now it's kind of more of a seasoned high rise after being open for a few years. And the pricing tends to be pretty competitive given all of the other apartments that are on the market. But it's a very nice, very high end building. And they have some really beautiful units that face downtown. And just to zoom back out again, another pro of Rainy Street is that the units facing downtown at all of these buildings are going to give you the absolute best views of Austin, where you get the river, you get the hill country out west, you get like the downtown skyline view. So if you're a junkie for like amazing views, then anything west facing at a high level is going to give you the absolute best views of Austin. So Quincy kind of fits in that good high rise quality, a lot more The Quincy pairs well with the Sky House because the Sky House is going to be like that older feeling mid high rise, and Sky House is probably the most affordable high rise in downtown Austin. And I've had a lot of people move into Sky House. It's a very social building. They have like an amazing amenity deck, rooftop pool, rooftop grill area, rooftop co-working space. Again, great west-facing views, but it does feel like notably older compared to all the other high rises. What I don't like about the Sky House is their parking garage is in a different building right next to the main residential building. So you'll park and then have to take like an elevator down to get into your apartment. So that's annoying. Um, but that being said, for the I've had a lot of people choose Sky House because of the pricing for a high rise and the proximity to the trails. So that is what makes Sky House a very compelling option, but it's just not going to be like your super high end luxury experience by any means. Then you have the Camden Rainy Street. Um, I don't have a lot of people move here because it's right on top of the most socially active bars on Rainy, and it's flanked by its location just isn't great because on the east side, and this one is a mid-rise building, so a lot of units are going to face either School Street, which faces an IHOP. It's going to face either the bars, or it's going to face 35, or some of them are going to face like a back alley in between these areas. That being said, it is a nice building. The gym is really nice. The pool is really good. I just don't have a lot of people lease here because the pricing just for the value tends to be better at other places, and it's a little bit too in the middle of everything, in my opinion. So then you have one of the super top quality S tier, top level hyper buildings, which is the Paseo. And I've toured this building a few times now, and no other building in Austin is as aggressive with their. This is almost like it feels more like a resort than it does an apartment complex. And it's also the most aesthetic building in Austin by far. It's in terms of beauty and aesthetics, it's number one. It's one of these like apartment hotel hybrids, some on-site restaurants and coffee shops. My friend that I ran into who lives there the other day told me she almost just never has to leave the building. And they're also going really hardcore with community experiences. So um, like yoga classes. They have a Pilates studio. They have a massive gym. They have a ton of like community workouts. So it's a gym almost like a Lifetime Fitness plus hotel plus restaurant plus hotel and apartment complex all in one building. And co-working space. Yeah. So this is the most complete living experience that I've ever seen in an apartment complex. And I think this is going to be like a major, major player in the mega high rise, high luxury category. The only like Achilles heel of this building are the floor plans. The floor plans are pretty small, and I had one client who was about to lease here, but the main issue for him was the really small closets where they were just non-functionally small. And having been there a few times, it is their main weakness is their floor plans, which is unfortunate because for an apartment complex, the most important thing is the floor plans, and that seems to be the biggest weakness for the Paseo. That being said, they do have a lot of units with fantastic views, floor to ceiling windows. So here you will make a trade-off to sacrifice the size of a unit for what is like an amazing overall like living experience. They also have like a spa space, cold plunge, sauna. Everything is top level there. Again, it's super aesthetic, really pretty. It has a lot of great on-site co-working space. So this one is going to be just an amazing building to live at. You just have to sacrifice space in your unit. Then coming down, we have the 700 River, which has become one of my favorites. I think this elevates to top level S tier along with the 6G and the Paseo. I've really come to like this building. It does have one major Achilles heel, which is in this little location here. There's a ton of construction happening with the highway that's going to be happening for the next few years. And it makes the east facing units at the 700 River hard to deal with because you have a lot of construction noise here and noise from I-35. So that only really makes it hard for me to recommend anything facing east at the 700 River, because at that price point you're just going to want something better. But everything else, the north views, the south views are really great. There aren't many east facing views, but if the east facing views here at the 700 River, probably mostly 2 bedrooms, are going to be some of the best views you can possibly get in the entire city. The 700 River is really great with their aesthetics. They do a really good job of creating this bright high-end luxury, but very tastefully aesthetic appeal on the inside. Have really beautiful pool. It's not rooftop, but it's like in this somewhere in the middle, but it's kind of your more eye level view of the river in downtown. Super beautiful. And they do have a high level gym that's super nice. They have this on-site spa space, so sauna, cold plunge. They even have like a little rooms for like, I think even like Botox and weird stuff that's going on. Spa space. And they have a really amazing rooftop amenity deck with what's probably the best work from home or work from your apartment complex space in the city, where it feels like a high-end tech office with like dual monitors, ton of space. And for if you're going to be working from home and you want to work from like your like apartment's amenity space, this is the best building in Austin for that. So other than the east facing views at 700 River, everything else is going to be fantastic. I really love this building, and this is going to be just your top high-end pricing that pairs well with a 6G and the Paseo. And the floor plans are really nice. So you're probably going to be interested in both Paseo versus 700 River, where Paseo kind of has weak floor plan sizing. The 700 River does really well with their floor plans and sizes. So that's one important difference. Then rounding out, Windsor on the Lake. I don't think I've had anyone ever lease here. It is for Graney Street, it's going to be the quietest, calmest location because it's the closest to the river, and farthest away from all the social life of Rainey. Their amenities aren't very good. It's like a first floor pool, first floor gym. Well, I don't know where their gym is, but I almost never tour this building. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It just feels like it feels dated. It's not going to be very social. It's going to be very quiet, which could be the thing you're looking for. So it doesn't really stand out in many ways. And most of my clients who are going to be paying these prices are just going to want something higher quality than what they can get here. But again, there's nothing really wrong with it. So then moving on to final major corridor of downtown is going to be the East 11th corridor, where you have this cluster of apartments. So here I'm going to cover both downtown and parts of East Austin because it's one large cluster, so it kind of makes sense to cover all of these together. So in this part of downtown, it's going to be more hotels, government buildings. It's not super residential. You do have the Texas Capitol, which is nice but not super relevant to the residential experience. Waterloo Park is really pretty. They have a cool amphitheater here. It's nice for like a casual stroll, but again, it's not like there's not just a ton of like restaurants and bars and coffee shops in this immediate area. Here you have the Beverly. Not a big fan of the Beverly. Mostly the building is fine, really affordable. They have great pricing, and that could put it over the top for you if you're looking for something that's more budget friendly. I kind of just don't like this location because Red River is a major bar and music venue. We have like Stubbs and Mohawk and some of these other places that I forget their name of. Yeah, it's just kind of more of a party district and like live music district on one side and the highway on the other side. And it just lacks your ordinary daytime like residential experience. That being said, the reviews are really good, the pricing is really good, and it is kind of like an older building, but like your older mid-rise category. Overall, I think for this kind of building, for the age of building, and for the price point, you're just better off being in East Austin for a better overall living experience. You have both of these buildings, the Waller and the Lexington Waterloo, kind of the same thing. Both are really, really nice. They did a great job with aesthetics on both of them. The Waller is, I think, a little bit prettier when it comes to aesthetics. My main issue with the Waller is they have really small floor plans. That's their Achilles heel, kind of like the Paseo, where everything is really nice in the building, but they tend to have just really small or like awkwardly shaped floor plans. That being said, their amenities are really good, and yeah, there's not much else to say about the Waller. It's just kind of the same living experience as the Lexington Waterloo. The Lexington Waterloo is managed now by the Hanover team, and the Hanover team just tends to be much better with management compared to the previous managers. So they did go through like a management turnover, which seems to be for the best. Waterloo has a really beautiful rooftop amenity deck and pool area, one of the best in the city in my opinion. They have really great floor plans, whereas the Waller has really small floor plans. The Lexington Waterloo has much bigger, I think more functional floor plans. Like they have really great one bedroom with a den floor plans and large 2-bedroom floor plans. So I've had a lot of people lease at the Lexington Waterloo. But overall, I think the main issue with this area is its location, because this eastern edge of downtown just isn't super interesting overall. That being said, what is, in my opinion, really interesting is now we cross over into East Austin, into this East 11th corridor, which is my personal favorite part of Austin. I used to live on East 11th for 4 years. I really, really love this area because you have a really great mix of living experience where you get the walkability of East 11th and a lot of great like bars and restaurants like Paperboy, Nickel City, Old Thousand, Quickie Picky, Franklin Barbecue, Radio Coffee, and the little music food truck venue out here, Kenny Durham's backyard. You have the Central East Austin neighborhood, which is just a really nice, cozy residential neighborhood. That's a really great, calm walking experience. And what makes this area compelling is you have a lot of the walkability that you want from downtown, and you but you don't have a lot of like the high nervous system experience of being in like the middle of the downtown concrete jungle. And you kind of have this kind of best of both worlds where you have the proximity of downtown, but not like the cons of downtown. And one thing to consider, both in terms of raw function, is your commute. So a lot of people want to live in downtown but commute to different parts of Austin. So that gives a lot of bias and a lot of benefit to all of these buildings that are close to 35, give you really great access to get in and out of downtown. Because a lot of these buildings in the core of downtown, one really annoying thing if you're going to be commuting away from downtown is the fact that you have to drive out. You have to drive like down your parking garage and then drive through downtown with a lot of traffic in downtown to get out of downtown, and then to get home you have to do the whole thing in reverse and deal with downtown traffic just to like get in and out of the city. Whereas these buildings on the edge of downtown, you're kind of already outside of downtown, so you can just hop on the highway and go north, south, east, west a lot easier. So from this location of East 11th and Rainy, and even like this part of East 6th, getting around Austin is very easy. So in terms of just raw practicality, that's a major benefit of being in this area. So looking into the buildings, my personal favorite is the Avenir. I've had more people. This is probably my most popular building in the downtown quality, like upper budget, upper quality building. And because I'm such a big fan of this area, I always bring my clients here. They have great reviews. Their leasing team has been there like the whole time, and it's just a very consistent management experience. And now they've been open for like I think 4, maybe 5, almost 5 years now, and to keep 4.5 stars is a really really good sign. At the Avenir, they have 2 pools, one mid-level, one rooftop. They have 2 gym spaces. It's the only apartment with an indoor basketball court. They have a really great take your dog out amenities like a on-site dog park. It's just a great neighborhood to walk a dog. So in terms of like pet experience, Avenir is much better than the high rises, and just this area is much better because there's more of a neighborhood to walk around. The Avenir, I really like their east-facing units. That it has. So here you generally have the option of facing west downtown and facing east, which is just a like flat neighborhood. And I actually bias towards the kind of less interesting east view at the Avenir, because the ones facing downtown are kind of loud because of the highway, and that's kind of the main, like, if this building had an Achilles heel, it would be the fact that a lot of the units have a little bit have a road noise from 35, which for some people it's not a big deal, but you could definitely notice it from your unit there. So I tend to like the units that face east, that are super quiet and super calm and relaxing, and just are very like, I like them a lot. And it also makes the Avenir compelling is you get it's a downtown quality building, but it's priced much better than most of these comparable downtown buildings because it's not inside of downtown. So that's kind of my pick for that part of downtown, and kind of just for downtown in general. You have the 11 and the Amley East Side, both pair well together. Both are going to be your older, mid-rise, aged building. The 11 has a really great dog park and rooftop deck. It's not super aesthetic, has like that kind of corporate feel to it. Amley East Side is going to be an older building from like 2007 and it's definitely dated, but it's one of my most popular buildings because the pricing for the square feet tends to be very, very compelling compared to everything else in the area. So overall, East 11th is a great option if you're looking for something in downtown but a little bit cheaper and maybe something off center to have something a little bit more calm. So then to wrap up, we'll finish off in East Austin because a lot of my clients want to be in downtown but don't want to pay downtown prices and they want the walkability of downtown. So it's worth talking about just a few of these buildings like the Saltillo and the Corazon are going to be your really well priced mid range buildings or mid range, like mid rise buildings where you get hyper walkability, access to downtown. Saltillo, I've had more people move in here than any other building because there's like 700 something units, so there's just more units to choose from. So here you're going to get great pricing, great walkability, and downtown proximity. So those are going to be useful for people who want like that price to value ratio. So actually, we're not going to finish off there. We're going to finish off in South Austin at 2 buildings, 3, maybe 4 buildings that they are downtown quality buildings that are just outside of downtown. So you have the 1155 Barton Springs, which is super nice, like higher mid-rise or lower high-rise building in right outside Auditorium Shores in Butler Metro Park. Super beautiful building, huge floor plans, and it kind of has they're like big enough to feel like you're in a single family home type experience, but having like luxury apartment experience. And there's like much fewer units here, so it's a really small, cozy, private feeling experience. The main issue is that it's right on Barton Springs Road, which does have a lot of traffic, but it has great walking distance to this park, the River Trail. It's super close to Barton Springs, Ilker Park, and it's a really great like walking experience for South Austin. So if you want something that's like smaller, cozier, more private, then this is a really nice one. Also forgot to mention on the downsides, it is also pretty close or right along the train that goes downtown. So that's going to impact some of the units. Then we have the Catherine, which super nice hotel style, like very concierge-y type high rise in downtown or South Austin. And the Catherine has some of the best views of Austin, especially their units facing north that give you a full view of downtown from the South Austin perspective. And it feels a little bit dated compared to some of the other high rises now. Their views are really good. The management team is really good. But again, I don't have a lot of people move here. I think the Achilles heel for this building is its location, where on one side you do have the trail here, which is great. You have the park here, which is great. But in this immediate area, there's nothing. There's a hotel. There's a massive construction project happening here. I don't know what it's gonna be, but in terms of immediate walkability, in terms of like your coffee shops and restaurants and grocery stores and bars, there's nothing, and you kind of have to go all the way to like South Congress, which is fairly close. It's just not like immediate proximity. So I don't like this location. If you do, I have a high premium for good views and proximity to Lady Bird Lake, then it could be a good one. So then to finally wrap up, we have kind of like your dark horse high-rise quality experiences. We have the Encore, which is in the process of opening up, and this is going to be probably the nicest one. We have the Marlowe and the Encore. Both are owned and managed by the same company, so they're basically going to be the same building right next to each other. And these are going to be your downtown quality buildings that are outside of downtown. And these two could be interesting if you want like downtown quality without downtown prices and you want this quieter, more relaxing proximity to Lady Bird Lake and Colorado River. Both of these are going to have really beautiful rooftop pools and like rooftop co-working amenity spaces. So that wraps up this very long-winded review of downtown Austin apartments. If you found this helpful, please reach out to me on my website, tacostreetlocating.com. I'll help you for free. I'll be your personal guide on renting a place. And if you find this useful, you'll also probably interested in my East Austin guide I'll make right after this. So hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.